Hey, welcome back, beautiful. This video is for those who are really tired of giving way to other people. You almost feel a little bit inferior to other people and you hate that. You feel uncomfortable in your own skin and you feel like you always have to put on the front. You're afraid of offending people, being a burden to them, and you don't want to make anyone upset. So you always find yourself withdrawing yourself and you feel very disconnected to the people around you. And since you've clicked on this video, you're probably tired of that shit. You want to let go around people and finally connect with others. And let me tell you something that you might be afraid of. It is completely fine for you to want that. And it doesn't make you a selfish monster for wanting to actually connect with people and stop feeling so beneath others, alright? You chose to learn and make some progress with this video, so it means you haven't given up on yourself, and that's a great thing, okay? Don't feel bad for it. Don't feel bad for wanting something for yourself. It is your responsibility to be honest with your desires, because if you don't be honest that you want your life to change and actually seek change, you're gonna get resentful, and that resentment is gonna spill onto others. So think about the people who actually care about you. How can you stop being a burden to them if you can't stand up for yourself and fight for what you want? So the fact that you want to connect with others is not a selfish desire at all. It's a necessity. So let's get to the video. About 4 years ago was the time that I started to take it deliberately and actually change myself from being this incredibly socially anxious guy to a more socially competent guy. And you're probably very familiar with how it feels to be incredibly socially anxious. You walk around all day and you feel this steady level of anxiousness constantly. And when people will start a conversation with you or speak to you without you noticing, you kind of jump a little bit, And you know what I hated? In my head, I saw myself as this capable guy that has potential to be special. That one day I'm going to be special. But yet the way I behaved amongst others does not reflect that at all. When I was 16 on graduation day, I ran out of school to play mobile games because I knew that nobody would ask me to eat or take a picture together. I didn't even want to risk finding out that truth. So I disappeared. I spent 4 years in that school and I felt like I left the school with nobody. And if you lack social resilience like I did, you probably find yourself, darting out of work or school the second it ends. Because you're terrified of rejection and every little thing suddenly feels like rejection. You are afraid of finding out that other people lack interest in you. You don't even want to notice any signs that could mean they don't really like you. So you just disappear. When people spoke to me, I would genuinely obsess over where the fuck do I put my hands. I'll put them in my pockets, then I'm like, oh, they're in my pockets for way too long, this is kind of weird. Then I'll take them out, and then I'll put them in front of me, and I'm like, why am I standing here like a bodyguard? Okay, then I would pull my hands apart, put them behind me, and I'm like, yo, this is kind of weird, why am I standing like that? And before you know it, I have put my hands in straight lines next to me and I stand there like a fucking snowman. Then I'm like, yo, what the fuck am I doing? I'll start swaying them around like a fucking special person. So if you were in a conversation with me in the past, it would look like I'm fucking having a mild seizure, I'm like adjusting my shirt. I'm like, oh, my hands go here, 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 here. It's like I'm fucking performing Aikido. If you're struggling with that right now, let me tell you something absolutely amazing. You can absolutely change. And you can actually change pretty damn quickly. You probably find yourself rehearsing conversations very often in your head, like thinking back to what you said and whether that upset them or whether that is bad or not, or how you can say it better next time so you can sound more impressive. You might find yourself getting genuinely anxious and sad when somebody takes too long to respond to your texts. You hate that you don't know how to stand with good posture. You don't know where to put your eyes, Why does every conversation or why does every social interaction feel so uncomfortable and inauthentic, Why does it have to feel that way? I'm just here with that person. It's as simple as that, and I can't even do that. Like, you start to hate yourself for that. And you almost feel ashamed for it, but around people, you always try to put on a competent front. You will never admit that you're afraid of speaking to them. 4 years ago, I was incredibly socially anxious, but it took me about 2 months to go from quite socially anxious, not really knowing many people, to going on stage to perform, to boxing with random people around the school in my cohort, to going out with girls alone. I tried really, really hard and I know what works. By the way, before we get into how to deal with this, if you really want to learn how to be more comfortable around people, you can pre-order my handbook where it has everything I know about how to go from socially anxious to comfortable around people. And it will have every single actionable step that I have tested and I know works. If you truly want to change, it's available for pre-order and it's ridiculously cheap right now. When I actually release it, the price is going to jump. But if you really don't want to spend money, I'll give you most of the free information in the YouTube videos. So let's get into what you can actually do. If you can't relax around people and you almost hate yourself for it, you need to build your social resilience. And you're going to become less afraid of social interaction. Of course, there's plenty of information out there, but these are the fundamental things that you're going to need. Deliberate exposure, a safe space to evaluate and think and recover so you don't burn out, and finally building your competence. Let's start with deliberate exposure. Since you are aware that you struggle with social interaction, you probably already have social opportunity. You probably show up to a place regularly. So we're going to deliberately build your resilience, and we do that by using social situations as like a gym. We're going to show up to those social situations and we're going to try to lift a little bit more weight every time we go. So for example, let's say you have recurring conversations. I assume most of you go to school, so let's say every day you sit around the same people, and now and then they will talk to you, or maybe you're already friends with them but you want to get closer to them and feel less socially anxious. So I want you to spend the next few days taking note of what exactly you're afraid of. When exactly do you get anxious? Maybe when a competent person asks something from you and you suddenly get scared. Maybe when the teacher calls you out while you're in class. Think of what situation exactly makes you anxious. And when those situations happen, try to take note of what thoughts come about. And it is very possible that no thoughts come up and you just start feeling incredibly anxious. You just want to take note when that happens, and you want to hold on to this ideology. Unwilling exposure creates phobia, fear, resistance. But willing exposure creates resilience, creates strength. So if you reorient how you think whenever those uncomfortable situations happen to, this is practice. I want this exposure to happen so I can become more comfortable. You start to allow yourself to accept those situations and not try to pull yourself away from it, not get paranoid that it happens. You kind of want more exposure to those uncomfortable moments. Of course, you don't want it to be of massive magnitude to the point where it scares the shit out of you, but you want something that you can handle, and then you put yourself in more situations where you can face things you can handle. So for my first few weeks, what I did to deliberately build this resilience is I would try to extend conversations a little bit longer. When the teacher looks for who to call out, you don't look away and start pretending you're doing nothing. You just look at them and understand that yes, they might call you out, but it's okay. It's something you can handle. I started to put myself in situations where there's a higher chance of me getting into social interaction. If I had a chance to join an event, I'm going to that event. If I'm working with other people, I'm going to make sure that I put in effort to do something very useful so that they can start a conversation with me. You get what I mean? You can find out what you can do. So for the next few days, you just want to really blast those numbers. Of course, you don't have to take on the entire world in the first day. You just try to do it a little bit more than you usually do. And you go back every single day trying to do a little bit more than you usually do. Put yourself in more opportunity than you usually do. Knowing that you want that willing exposure. You want that exposure because it makes it less scary. If you don't want that exposure, it's going to make it even more scary, and it's going to make you resist it even more. So you want it. You're going to tell yourself that this is going to help me grow. So I might as well seek it a little bit. Fine, I won't go for the super scary stuff, but I'll seek the stuff that I can kind of handle, A little bit scary, I can do that. And you spam the numbers on that shit. You try to farm it as often as you can. The thing about us socially anxious overthinkers is we always try to find a way to give up. We always try to find a reason for us to stay away from the uncomfortable things. Please don't skip this step. I know it's like you resist it a lot and you're kind of lazy and it's like, why I feel autistic doing this. But please, right? Make it a habit to journal. Yeah, I know. But please, really try. Just please try it. Just when you've come back from a long day of facing those situations and there's a lot of discomfort in your heart and you don't want to give up, you pull out that notebook and you have someone that can listen to you without feeling like you're burdening them, without feeling like you might chase them away with the amount of shit you're spewing. You can tell your journal everything that you can't tell someone. You can truly let go, And you can evaluate your thoughts by laying it all out, and it's absolutely a beautiful thing. Like, dude, the smartest people write. You gotta write. You might have a lot of resistance to it. Oh, this guy is charismatic and he doesn't write. Sure, but you're not that guy. Please give it a shot. Because with journaling, you can prevent your burnout by so much. Because it gives you a place to recover, reminisce, and you can open up to someone because you're probably too afraid to open up to someone about your anxiousness and admit to them that you're afraid of social interaction. So having that journal is going to be incredibly helpful for you. And it gives you like a nice little safety net to fall back on if you faced rejection that day or something like that. And with that journal, you can also track your progress. You can read back on the day before on how you dealt with scary situations. And then you can feel like, oh, I can do that now. That's pretty fucking cool, right? So when things get hard, when you have a day where you just kept getting rejected, you can go back to that journal and it will help you so much. And you want to have wonderful, hopeful mindsets that you can hold on to. When we are trying to change, our mind will bring up every autistic excuse, every stupid random thought it can in order to stop us from changing, because we love to stick to familiarity and we love to make excuses to not change. It's just fundamental human nature. So you realize that you think of the most valid excuses suddenly to stop you from becoming a socially competent person. Maybe you start telling yourself that, oh, this isn't worth it, this feels so inauthentic. Look at Jimmy, he's so socially inept and shy and he has a girlfriend, maybe it doesn't matter, maybe I don't have to be more confident or charismatic. You start to give yourself the most, stupid excuses that if you think about it, like a few days later, you'll be like, the hell am I thinking about? So in order to resist those, you journal, you have mindsets that remind yourself that when I'm changing, this is the most precarious moment. I'm gonna have all these retarded thoughts that are trying to stop me. And don't hate yourself for them, they're just natural. You are not your thoughts. So just know that it will come and try your very best to resist it, because trust me, your brain comes out with the most retarded shit and it is valid. Like the thought and excuse feels so valid and you're like, what the hell? Guys, please. And lastly is to build your competence. Now that you're putting the effort day by day to build your social resilience, your social courage, at home you also want to focus on your diet, your sleep. What are you doing with your spare time? If you have very low self-worth and you're incredibly socially anxious, I can honestly basically assume 99.9% you don't sleep well. You don't sleep at the same time and wake up at the same time every day. And you like to self-sabotage yourself with like an incredibly late night sleep. Other than that, you eat a shit ton of processed foods, potato chips, oily food, fried chicken, a lot of funny things. You like to eat a lot of funny things, you drink a lot of sweet drinks. Like I can almost imagine that. And what you do with your spare time, do you keep physically fit? Do you have any hobbies that you stick to? Do you have anything that you're trying to build and get better at? Or are you just playing video games and stroking your worm and scrolling and doom scrolling? Create some substance in your life, but finding your passion and things like that is a completely different topic, but please find something to do. And if you need help with that, I have plenty of other videos that talk about finding your interest and how to stick to it. Because you start to sabotage yourself with thoughts like, what's the point of doing all this, it's superficial and shit like that. You start to sabotage yourself with all kinds of meaningless thoughts. Wanting better things for yourself is not superficial at all. That is what taking responsibility of your life feels like. And you have to resist all these retarded thoughts that will try to stop you from change. So for the next few days, you can focus on one thing. Yep, you probably can't fix everything in one day, but maybe today you can try to sleep on time. Sure, you won't have perfect sleep because you've always been sleeping at 3 a.m, but maybe you try to sleep at 10:30, not be able to fall asleep, but at least you made the effort, and then the next day it'll become easier to fall asleep earlier. Or maybe for the rest of the day, no sugar or no processed foods, and then you try to stick to 1 week of no sugar. And if you can manage that, then you go for your second week of no sugar and no processed foods. And from there, you're already basically doing absolutely amazing, and then you just have to try to stick to that. Or maybe you write down today, every day for 30 minutes a day, I'm gonna play some piano, or I'm gonna do a little workout routine. Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. If you can work on all three, I think your social anxiety, your fear of social interaction is gonna fucking fly quickly, hella quickly. You must say toilet time. Yeah, you guys can listen to me pee. Wow, absolutely inspirational. And as I always say, change is always going to feel inauthentic. It's always going to feel uncomfortable. And that does not mean it's a bad thing. When you're learning a new language, it is always going to feel inauthentic. Speaking is going to feel inauthentic. But as you become better and better at it, as you force yourself to speak it despite feeling inauthentic, it becomes more and more comfortable. It becomes an extension of you. It becomes a medium of expression for you. And from there, it will become more and more authentic and more part of you. So your brain will try to cling to that inauthenticity and use it as an excuse for you to stay the same. But you're going to resist it because you need the change and you want this shit. And you're finally sick and tired of wasting all that social opportunity. You're sick and tired of wasting all that youth, all that potential story you could have had, all those people you could have met, that girl you liked, you could have spoke to. You're tired of that shit. So we're gonna change this time, and we're not gonna let this guy stop us, alright? Again, if you really want to change as quickly as possible, pre-order my book right now. It is at a ridiculously low price in the description below. Anyways, you got this. You definitely got this. I can feel your energy, it's seeping through the screen. It's coming through the screen. That sounds wrong, I ain't trying to be like that. But yeah, I love you. Good luck. It's a better walk.